Today we're here demanding the release of all the Medevac refugees. The current situation is there's about 24 of them in the Park Hotel in Melbourne. There's about another 22 in the Melbourne Immigration Transit Accommodation, about another 11 in the Adelaide Immigration Transit Accommodation. There's about 4 in Villawood, and there's about 35 in this detention centre here. We want them free, and we want them in the community with permanent protection. They were brought here to Australia after 6 long years of detention on Nauru and Manus Island. They were brought here for medical care, and we want to see them get that medical care they need. Our first speaker today is going to give us a medical perspective, and that speaker is Jeremy Fernando. Jeremy is a final year medical student at the University of Queensland, and he's the Vice President of the Australian Medical Students Association, the peak representative body in Australia of about 17,000 or more students. So please make Jeremy welcome. Thank you.
I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather here today, the Turrbal people of the Yuggawal Nation. I would like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here with us today. This land has always been and always will be Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander land, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Good morning everyone, my name is Jeremy Fernando and I'm a final year medical student and the Vice President of the Australian Medical Students Association. Australia, the country of the fair go, the most livable cities in the world, celebrator of the multicultural melting pot, a country born of second chances. And I ask today, what has happened to us? We must stand here to bear witness and speak against the continuing human rights violations perpetrated by the government on refugees seeking asylum in our country. Australia's medical students firmly believe that asylum seekers have the fundamental right to access adequate healthcare. Let us be clear about this. Detention harms health. The evidence is overwhelming and irrefutable. We stand here with you in calling for the release of all refugees being held here and in other detention centres across Australia and offshore. There are 35 refugees being held here in BITA, 35 people who were transferred here for medical treatment from appalling conditions on Nauru and PNG, conditions that damage their physical and mental health. But instead of having those pressing medical needs met, they languish in indefinite detention. The world has been watching our country, built on the so-called fair go, and on that international stage, Australia has emphatically failed. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has condemned the inhumanity of the Australian detention system as having corroded these individuals' resilience and rendering them vulnerable to alarming levels of mental illness. What happened to us? Refugees come to Australia seeking an end to the violence, persecution and trauma they're subjected to in their homeland. They arrive on our shores with the hope of a final safety. Yet almost half of those detained for over 2 years develop a new mental health problem during their detention. And with an average stay of 627 days, the incidence of mental illness in this vulnerable population is skyrocketing. Children who are being detained are particularly vulnerable, with more than a third of children in detention experiencing a serious mental health condition requiring hospital treatment. I refuse to believe that this is what it means to be Australian, to choose not to extend a hand to those fleeing horrors in search of a second chance. What happened to us? The effect of inhumane detention on the physical health of asylum seekers has been well documented. We are a country that prides itself on granting equal access to healthcare for all. The message is, if you are sick in Australia, we will take care of you. And yet, there are countless stories of refugees with preventable and treatable diseases left ignored, causing senseless and irreversible damage. Take, for example, Nadim. Nadim was an asylum seeker who arrived in Australia in November of 2013 with hepatitis C. We have known for years how to treat hepatitis C. It is easily accessible and highly effective. Now, despite being told as early as October of 2014 that he qualified for treatment, as well as reports from numerous medical authorities imploring the government to take action, Nadim was denied medical treatment. It wasn't until 4 years later, after Nadim's liver had been irreversibly damaged, that his case was taken to the federal court and he was allowed to begin treatment. Much too little, much too late. That would never be accepted in our hospitals, and yet this is still occurring on our shores today. Nadim should be the exception of how we treat refugees, and not the rule. But his story is not unique. What happened to us? Medevac refugees and asylum seekers, such as those detained in this very facility, have been fighting to survive in these conditions for the past 8 years. 8 years of isolation from friends and family, not knowing if or when they'll be able to leave. That's 8 years of physical and mental suffering in overcrowded conditions without access to adequate healthcare. Despite having been in detention for all this time, despite having been brought to Australia for urgent medical attention, those inside BITA still have no answers. I have asked today what happened to the Australian ideal, but it is clear what has happened. We know that we don't treat our asylum seekers and refugees correctly, and we will not stand for it. It's time to release all Medevac refugees and all refugees being held in indefinite detention. It's time to give them their lives back. It's time to stand by their side and end this torture. And we, Australia's medical students, stand with you. Thank you.
Free the refugees! Free the refugees!
Free the refugees! Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Say it loud, say it clear, refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear,
Refugees are welcome here!
say it loud, say it clear.
Refugees are welcome here!
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.